Welcome back. If you've watched the video where we customized the Dodge A100 van, you may have noticed that we made some lenses for our headlights. I mentioned that in the video. Well, this is the separate video to that. It's a really simple process. There are several different ways to do it, but for me, this is the easiest way. Now, in that video, I happen to use a Protecto pack for the material. This is essentially a protective shell so you can house one of your carded cars. I have a ton of these laying around. I don't collect carded cars, so I found a use for them. Now you may be asking, well, why can't I just use the blister pack from a carded car? I guess you may be able to temporarily, but that plastic is really thin and really brittle. I've seen them break before you even get the car home. This is a much thicker plastic and should last a very long time. Now, it may be possible to use the blister pack from like a green light. It is a little thicker. I would still go with the Protecto pack. These are fairly cheap. I think maybe a couple dollars each. And one can do a ton of cars. Now, if you haven't watched that video, I encourage you to do so. But here's a close look at the headlight lenses of that particular custom. Now, these happen to be really easy because they're round. Essentially, all I used was a heat gun, such as this one here. Some snips, the Protecto pack, and believe it or not, a paintbrush. After I drilled the hole for the lights, I simply found a paintbrush that would fit inside that hole. Parts of this video I'll create some voiceover explaining the process when we customize this Dodge A100 van. But I'm still going to give you a look real time of how it works. That's the piece that we used in the actual video. I'm going to use this crinkled up piece. Doesn't matter, doesn't have to be flat unless you're making a flat lens. So we're going to heat it up. You'll notice when I'm heating it up, it starts to fall. You'll see the plastic actually almost melt and come apart. Now you don't want to get it too hot, you can burn right through this. And then we'll take our brush and then we simply pull it down. Now it's fairly hot to touch, but not too hot. I want to get it the perfect shape of this brush, just the end. And you pull out the brush, and there we have part of our lens. Now we can take some side cuts, or we can use some scissors to cut that off. And we'll try to catch it as we snip it off of here. We snipped it off, and now we have part of our lens. Now in the van, we actually left them about this length because I actually hot glued the lights to the lens. They're not really hot glued to the van, but more the lens. And as you can tell in the video, what I did was take the brush from the inside of the car, poked it through until I got just enough out there. Now I could have pushed it in further, allowing more of the lens to be exposed, but I wanted it to be more realistic, to where it's barely poking out. Now we'll move to some video footage of when we created this custom. Here we are trying the brush ends, see which one fits. Then we heat up the plastic. Now you'll notice in this next frame, you'll see the plastic become very pliable. It's kind of rubbery. Now once this happens, we'll go ahead and take the end of the paintbrush and push it into the plastic. And once you have the desired shape and length, go ahead and cut it off. Now you can go ahead and insert the lens, either using the end of the brush or an Allen key in this case. A small screwdriver would work as well. And here's what it looks like with and without the lens. Huge difference with the lens. Now if you wanted to make some flat lenses, like for this Trans Am right here, there's one or two ways you can do it. The first way is just simply cutting out some stock with the scissors, or you can actually heat it up, press something in that hole to give you an outline so it's easier to cut. We're going to try that. Now we're going to go ahead and use our Allen wrench to get an outline of the area. And right there is our little outline, and we can cut it out. Now you'll want to cut it out a little bit larger than what it needs to be. And there it is right there. And the reason why you want to cut it out a little bit larger is so you can inset it from the inside. Now, if you wanted it to be the exact measurement, then you would want to cut it to the exact line. But I like to insert the lens from the inside of the car and then glue it up on the inside. That way there's no glue showing. Now, speaking of the glue, we're using this clear part cement right here. This is actually a window maker, so you can make lenses with this. It dries 100% clear. A lot of guys will use this to actually make the lenses. You can also use super glue with an activator to make lenses, then sand it down. I just like this plastic method because it's faster in my opinion and it's crystal clear. Now, if you use super glue to glue in these lenses, there's a good chance you'll get some white hazing. Happens all the time with super glue. Now, if you don't have any of this clear plastic cement, there's alternatives. You can actually friction fit them without gluing them in at all, or you can use hot glue, and I'm sure there's other methods you can use as well. This is pretty cheap. We'll put a link in the description below the video where you can get this clear plastic cement. Now, another way you could do this is actually just make an outline of the car. Now, with this plastic, the sky is pretty much the limit. You could almost do anything with it. You can make windows. You could possibly make some reproduction parts, although they're not going to be that strong. But if you're just looking for a filler panel or opening hood that doesn't need to have strength, you can certainly do that. Now, it'd be ideal to wear some nice thick gloves so you don't burn yourself when you actually press down on the plastic. But I'm just going to use a paper towel. It should be good enough. Press down over the area. Now, essentially, this is the poor man's version of vacuum forming, in a way. Now, this hole was already here. We didn't burn that through. That was actually from the headlight that we just made for the Dodge. But you can see the impression of the hood right here, as well as the front. So we could cut our lights out from those two sections right there. You also see the T-top started to form up here. Even though I didn't heat up that high, this stuff gets pliable very quickly. And that'll wrap it up for this one. Hopefully in this video you were able to take away something, whether you learned something or it give you an idea to use this method for something else, or not even Hot Wheels related. I really like this method because it's quick and easy. Unfortunately, I don't have the time nor the patience to create my own lenses from scratch using glue and activator. I've only tried it a few times. It did work, just wasn't for me. I'd like to thank all my Patreon supporters, and special thanks to my top patrons, which is Corbin Toll and Adam Ackley. Thank you everyone for all the support. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post those below. And as always, thanks for watching.